Yeah, so it's awesome though. I love doing this. This is so much fun. I've decided to start recording my phone calls, my Zoom calls with people, because you never know what golden nugget's going to come out of it, you know?
This is true. Yeah, I totally understand that.
Yeah, so I'm glad we were connected by Danielle, and Danielle's amazing, and she really knows. She's a really good connector at knowing like
She is.
why people need to be connected together. So I'm excited to find out about like what you're working on, what you're doing, how I can support you, how we can put you out there in the world to just make the planet so much bigger and better, and
I
and
love
so.
that.
So I see that you're an entrepreneur. You have an online program, and why don't you go and tell me like what it is that you do, and then share with me what your online program is.
Sure. Okay. So I'm an attorney, and I've been doing that for this is my 10th year actually in Las Vegas.
What type of
And
law?
I do mostly business law, although I have a little bit of my legacy project that I
Hmm.
had never thought I would have one, and then it kind of just came to be in a way that I've been moving forward with. And so that's more in the elder law area, actually. But
Oh,
that, for obvious reasons, is not really an online business. So everything that I do online is for basically coaches, consultants, people who have a big presence or do a substantial part of their marketing online.
okay. And just so you know, I was in the legal field for 20 years.
Oh, so
Yeah,
you
I was
know.
a legal secretary, so I get the craziness and the mayhem that goes on.
Yes.
Everybody was like, "You should be a lawyer," because I worked as many hours as the lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
But I was like, "Heck no, I don't want to be a lawyer. There's way too much responsibility." So I got to hand it to you for doing that. And
Thanks.
yeah, so what made you decide to go into the legal field?
That is the $1 million question. I think that I had, I don't come from college graduates and all of that. I was one of the first in
Hmm.
my family, and they were always business owners, my family members.
Okay.
I had a cousin who's probably 15 years older than me that was kind of the first one who went down that path, and it always seemed like he was doing cool things with cool people. So I had this sort of general sense of like, well, he's a lawyer, so that must be what lawyers do. And I followed through, and I made one of those sort of rookie mistakes in life where you get so focused on a specific goal, and then you get there and you go, oh, wait a second, I had no what next, So that's been the work in
Hello.
progress for the last year, yeah, 10
Yeah.
years.
Well, wow, that's interesting. So, would you say, like, my husband likes to say he was on this one job that he had, and he was there for 12 years, and he said, you know what? I just fell asleep. It's like time
You
just
gotta
kept going, and
Yeah, you have to be really careful. You're not just getting like the same 6 months of experience over and over again for like decades.
groundhog,
And
groundhog months.
that's exactly right. And the other thing I, it depends on the crowd whether what I'm about to say is a good thing or a bad thing, but I'm very much in favor of moving on from things as soon as it's not a fit anymore and the lessons have been learned. And so, I have friends that come to me and they'll say, you're like a professional quitter. And I'm like, I know that you're saying that out of love, but it is true. Like, I'm not going to stick with something that, I've gotten the value out of it. And so I do tell people, like, once you've quit, though, you do have to leave the building because it's really easy to just
Yeah.
stick around once you've checked out and not make the move.
I love that.
So,
That's so true. Like with anything in life, well, I've had 49 jobs, so I know what it's like to,
oh,
uh,
yeah.
and it's what I had to discover, like, why did I have 49 jobs? Why did I leave? I never got fired, not from a single one. But
Yeah, same.
yeah, I look at that and I think, well, what happened is just exactly what you were saying. You don't want to learn the same thing, 6 months and relearn the same 6 months things. So what happened was I actually got I learned all I could at that particular job, and there was no more room for advancement. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to go find another one. And I learned more of that stuff. And yeah, so just kept doing
Yeah,
that.
totally with you. 49. I'm gonna have to count. I'll save that for later.
I did that because I have actually kind of contemplated getting one more job just so I could save 50, but,
Yeah.
but I counted them because I was speaking at an event and I was talking about, basically like forward progress and moving ahead in life. And, sometimes you have to quit what you're doing in order to progress. And so I was like, how many jobs have I had? So I actually went through the list year by year, starting with my very first which was scooping poop at night at the Del Mar Fair. So That's all I
Don't
got.
say that I will not do absolutely anything.
I will even shovel shit, you know? Well, it's funny. I did, I was a cotton candy maker by day, and then I shoveled poop at night. So I was like,
Oh,
don't worry, I washed my hands in between.
yeah.
Like that's my whole thing. I usually start off with that. So, but just, it's so true though, because you can let yourself get stuck in Groundhog Day if you do that. And so let me ask you a question. When you have decided, like, you're like, okay, that's enough, I'm moving on. Do you ever have any fears about moving on, or you're just like, you finally got to the point where you're like, bam, I'm just moving on?
Yeah, it does become an art form. I think at first the scary part is, everybody expects me to stick this out,
Yes.
and we prize
Judgment,
stick. Yes,
judgment.
we prize stick to itiveness even when it's abusive, basically. And then I think after you're a little more practiced at it, you're thinking to yourself, the scary thing is that I'm still coming here every day. It's killing me. Like, I'm living the worst case scenario already. Like, let's move on from here. So, it's funny, as entrepreneurs, I think there's it's one thing to pay lip service to failing is okay, quitting is okay, moving on is okay. Those are kind of the badges of honor and how you get to where you need to be. So it's one thing to talk about it, but it's a whole other to really live and breathe that. And I very much do. It's so funny. I'll have conversations with people and I'll be like, in my third failed business, and they'll go, no, it wasn't a failure. It was a lesson. And I'm like, no, it was definitely a failure and also a lesson. But you don't have to be afraid to say the F word or the Q word to quit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a quitter and I'm proud of it. Well,
Yeah.
it's not really like it's not like giving up, because it's totally
Right.
opposite. Because quitting and giving up are two different things. Like, I
Definitely.
quit means I am not doing this anymore.
Yep.
That doesn't mean I'm giving up. It just means I'm not doing, like my first marriage. I just, like, one day I was like, bam, I'm out of here. I'm not living this life. It was so awful. And I made a decision at that moment to quit on
Yeah.
my marriage because it wasn't working for me.
Yeah.
And that's a good
I
thing.
I totally agree. There's a big difference.
Yeah. Wait, so how did you get into so doing like elder care law? Like, what's driving you? You said that's your passion project. What's driving you to that?
So I do, working with business owners, it comes naturally to me. That's kind of my, it's just like who I am, I guess, and it's very relatable. But in doing that, a lot of them go very unprotected in their personal lives, and so there's this natural element, especially when you build relationships with people over time, that you start doing the succession planning and help them face some of those legacy questions within their own business. So I think every business attorney has a future planning element to them. And then a few years ago, a family friend of ours came to us, and it's a really sad story actually. He had buried his mother after a long battle with Alzheimer's, and siblings were stealing her money and all of that sort of stuff. Buries his mother and then gets his own early onset Alzheimer's diagnosis. And a lot of people don't realize, I'm trying to get them out in the media and stuff like that to let them know that you can do a lot of asset protection around making sure that you don't impoverish your whole family just because you know that you have one of these illnesses that's going to require long-term care. So I have a lot of longevity in my family anyways, and so it just kind of all came together that I helped this family friend and was like, there's actually a big opportunity here to help people, and I just love old people. So it kind of came together. So I have an in-person practice and a partner, and that's what we do in that practice.
Okay, so what's considered old?
Well, every day the number is getting higher. So when I hear people come in and go, oh, I'm 78, I'm old, my life's over, I'm thinking, don't don't count yourself out just yet. I mean, I went to visit a guy last week who's 95, has no clue what's going on in the present time, but he's healthy as a horse and, remembers his whole life up until about 5 or 6 years ago. So in a way, it's like, yeah, he's old, but you don't feel like you're interacting with an old person, even though he's in his 90s. So
Yeah, I was
I
just
don't
wondering
know.
if I fit that category yet.
Oh no, not even close.
Well, I think I'm older than people think I am, which is a good thing, of course, but I'm not 78.
Yeah.
Definitely not 78. Well, let's talk about your the online program you have. What is that? How long you been doing it? Like, what are you looking to do with it?
Yeah, so basically it started with, I just randomly came across a coach through a telesummit a few years ago, and I really was not working for myself at that point yet. And every business I had had to that point had always been like a little side hustle. And I discovered that marketing is just this huge blind spot for me. I don't like it. I don't understand it. You know, how people think just like doesn't come naturally to me, I guess, or maybe years of lawyering has sort of blinded how normal people think.
I can attest to that.
Yeah, right. So I came across this coach, and she was just like brilliant and analytical, but also just very effective. And I thought, okay, I'm going to learn how to do this from someone who's really effective. And over the years of working with her, what I came to realize is I'm never going to do this on my own. But through her programs, I interacted with so many coaches and consultants and used what they were teaching in different areas of my own life. So I'm such a hardcore believer in coaching. And, you know, just naturally along the way, they would ask me legal questions, and it turned into, let me put up a free membership to answer these questions. And, you know, I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it or not, but it progressed. And so I also the program is a package of 20 and growing templates that coaches and consultants can use in their businesses. And the feedback's been really great. So the free membership has been up for, I would say, about a year. And then the templates package just launched in January of this year. And I think we're up to like 30 people have joined us in the 2 launches that we've done. So I'm thrilled and amazed and just love it.
Well, that's so cool. That's a great offering. I've never heard of anything like that before. So is it all, so your clients then are all entrepreneurs, I'm assuming?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Mostly in coaching and consulting, although I do also have items in there for done for you, like OBMs and virtual assistants and people like that as well. So really the common connection is that there are a lot of times doing business and marketing online as kind of their main line of revenue. Okay.
What's OBM?
Like an online business manager.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard that. What would be an example of that?
So this is typically when coaches and consulting businesses are getting to the, you know, high 6 figures, early 7 figures, sometimes lower. But it's somebody that kind of manages the rest of the team. So there's the owner and the figurehead that everybody knows, but then there's the person who's the, you know, the sort of director of behind the scenes operations. But they have them in done for you businesses as well, like social media marketing agencies, things like that.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because the person, because I strongly believe that everybody should remain in their zone of genius, you know, and so if you're the coach and you're doing everything, you know, it's going to be impossible to really scale your business until you bring in, you know, help to help you. And so let me ask you a question related to that. What's your recommendation for somebody who is kind of, let's say they're just starting out, they're just coming up with their idea. What would be your recommendation as to when they should start bringing in help?
That's a great question. So I kind of look at things in 2 ways. There's day one, dollar one, and sort of on your way to $1 million phases in terms of what you need to be doing in your business.
Those are the phases: $0, $1, and then $1 million.
Day one, dollar one, and 1 million. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. Okay.
And so the other way is looking at, you know, how do you deal with the 5 stakeholders in your business? And so that would be your team members, your clients, the government, yourself, and your competitors. So the team usually overlaps somewhere between the $1 and the 1 million number. So for every business, it's different. I mean, I know people who make like 50 grand a year and they have a virtual assistant that they rely very heavily on. And for me as a business owner, and, you know, there are definitely very seasoned experts out there who maybe would have a different answer, but the thing I have learned and the mistake that I have made is the sooner that you can release that sense of, well, it's just a little thing, I can do it myself, and really focus on what your own genius is, you're that much closer to being very successful than you are when you're trying to hold on to those little things. So that's something that I really struggle with in my own business for sure.
Yeah, I think it's hard releasing that, right? And so one thing I heard is somebody explained it to me, like for a virtual assistant. I was a virtual assistant for 20 years, you know, in addition to all the other stuff I've done, that 49 jobs. But so one thing is to look at is most times entrepreneurs, they're A-type personalities, right? Where they're maybe not structured so much as being kind of like the top of the food chain as far as being able to do so much more, so much better. than their
Right.
counterparts. So I think what tends to happen is we tend to think that, well, yeah, I could bring in somebody, but they won't do it as good as me.
As
And
fast. Yeah.
yeah, right. Like they won't do it. Yeah, all that stuff. So what I heard though, this is the way to look at it, is if you were to find somebody that could do 80% as good as you, is 80% good enough? You
I
know?
mean, in my litigation past, I used to tell clients, if you're getting 65% of what you think you're owed, you hit the lottery. So 80% of as good a job you could do, that works for me.
Yeah. And then
That works
sometimes
for
what
me.
happens is because that person is now concentrating in their zone of genius, it gives you opportunity to now concentrate more in your zone of genius. And then what happens is they might actually be better than you at that thing that you thought you were amazing at. And then you have to
Right.
let your ego go and say, you know what? Oh my gosh, I'm so glad I hired this person because they are making my business double, triple, quadruple, whatever. And I would never have
So
done that
true.
on my own. So it's like,
That's right.
check out of your mind.
Yeah.
Get
You
in there.
know, I tease my husband sometimes. I'll be doing something and I'll just stop myself and say, do you think that Elon Musk is doing this inside of Tesla? Because he's probably not. And I'm nowhere close to that. But the
Right.
philosophy, I think, is on point.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important. Like, that's a great question, right? Because it's important to think that way. It's important to think like those who are doing
Right.
what maybe you don't want to, do what he's doing exactly, but he's obviously has a model that works. And
Right.
so think the way he thinks so that you can be the way he is. Otherwise you'll never get there. Like if you're always thinking like, I can't do that, you're right.
Right.
You're not going to do it.
Yeah,
So,
that's right. It's self-fulfilling. So I think the next step after that is um, once you can release those smaller or tasks that are kind of outside of your brilliance is also being willing to stop chasing all the small things that, from when you were a new business owner, you really couldn't turn things down. I think kind of that's the next turning point that at least I see in my own business and with business owners that I'm watching grow rapidly.
they say being able to say no, right? Like when you can say no, you're successful.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, because when we get started out, we're like, yes, yes, I'll say yes to everything. And then you bring on, headache clients that they just like hound you all the time, and you really want to get rid of them, but you feel this desperation to hold on. And it's like this. But then what happens a lot of times is like one of my clients, I counseled her to, basically clean your slate. These clients are toxic to you. So
Right.
she cleaned them like one at a time. So she would get rid of one. When she got rid of one, she would bring in two amazing ones.
Yeah.
And then she was like, you're fired. She started just firing everybody.
It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. When the clients are wrong, it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And then maybe you can like, move them over to somebody else who's desperate,
Yeah, that's right.
And then they'll be thankful,
It's kind of the circle of life and business, I guess. And the funny thing about that, I mean, this kind of leads to sort of the punchline, I think, of every conversation I have with other entrepreneurs, which is all of those things really speak to personal development type issues. They just happen to arise in the trajectory of your own business. But man, there's no when you're working to get to that 7-figure business, you can't leave any personal stone unturned, because it will come up. Those issues come up, and I feel like they're even magnified in the context of a business. So
yeah, that's a good one. Don't leave any. What'd you say? Don't leave any personal stone unturned.
Yeah.
Personal development stone unturned. I love that. That's awesome. And it's really about us and our growth. And, your business can't grow if you're not growing personally, like as a human.
Very good point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because you become stagnant. And, like you and I, we're used to like making a jump and, doing different things. But some people aren't, a lot of people get stuck in that. Like my husband said, I fell asleep for 12 years. It's like, how many people are falling asleep in their business or are falling asleep on their job that they want to leave so bad? I want out of here. I hate this job. But how long are you going to put up with hating something before you actually take action to make your life better? Right?
And I think that goes back to our quitting conversation. I have such a short fuse for hating something.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yes, like I don't want to hate something for very long. I'm just gonna,
Get me out of here.
Yeah, yeah. If I'm going to continue to hate it, I'm going to get out of there, no matter the situation, no matter if it's moving to something scary. I think embarking on new journeys and trying new scary things is so much better than living a life of misery and hating things. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
life's
That's the scary place for me. You know, it's funny. I mentioned earlier that sometimes I have a hard time like understanding what other people are thinking. But last year I went to the Bold Heart Business, like the mindset retreat that they do every November, I guess. And she had a list of questions that are like common negative self-talk that people have or limiting beliefs. And she said, you know, there's no judgment in the room. Just stand up if you've ever thought this. And it was just unbelievable because there's 300 or 400 people in the room, and so many people afraid of, you know, am I worthy of this new thing that I've come up with? And for me personally, I'm never afraid that I can't do the next thing. I'm afraid of, you know, managing like, what's going to happen when I leave here? You know, is this going to be the thing that works? How am I going to explain to people? Because when you're an entrepreneur, I think sometimes you're the only person who can see the vision and understand where you are in relation to achieving it. And so just those conversations can be so soul sucking. Like, I got it. It's working. You'll understand when it comes to fruition. Like, it can be very isolating, I will say.
Yeah. Now, do you find yourself, I find myself doing this. I find myself just not sharing what I'm doing with those who don't understand. And
Yeah.
I've surrounded myself with so many entrepreneurs that they're always excited for whatever it is. They might not always understand what it is, but they're always excited for whatever it is. And that's all I want. I just want people who can be like, I'm so excited for you. I don't know what you're doing, but I'm so excited.
Yes.
That's all I want.
That's where the online communities have been so important for me, is that to have people that, you know, you're just doing something that's cutting edge or different, but importantly, a lot of times I think people, when you explain that you're doing something different, the message is like, and what you're doing is wrong. And really, I have no judgment about what anyone else is doing. I'm like excited and, you know, whatever on what I'm doing. And I think with entrepreneurs, it's there's a spirit of being willing to test things out, first of all, you know, without judgment or attachment to what the outcome is going to be. Mm-hmm. And also just this willingness to say that just because what I'm doing is different than what you're doing, it doesn't say anything about what you're doing. It only says what I'm doing. So that's Facebook groups and masterminds and stuff like that have been critical for keeping me sane in the process.
Yeah, it's so true. You know, I'm conducting a webinar really soon, and I'm going to change it up because I've attended so many trainings on how to conduct a webinar properly and everything. And you know what? I'm going to change it up because I don't really like the way what I don't like is being told that you have to do this way. You know, like most of us entrepreneurs, I think, are that way. And so I'm going to test something different and see if it works, and not go through the exact process that I was trained on, and like the tactics, which is that word for me is a nemesis. I don't like to use tactics. You know, I have techniques I use, or, you know, like ways I speak to people, but I don't like, because it's so militant, you know. Tactics.
Yes, I totally understand.
Yeah,
it's like your people are targets instead of.
Yeah, and they're not. It's because I truly, honestly, 100% just want to help people. That's all I want. So if my program that they get into is a way to help them, then I've succeeded. You know, that's all.
You don't have to like take them down to get them in and then like ditch them. That's one of the things I really
like. Oh.
She's very committed to, like, she teaches how to market and marketing techniques, but she actually tracks her own client success and implementing those, which I find to be very refreshing. It's not just about making huge sales, although she does, as a result of that, have great success. So I really admire that.
Well, what's the saying? If you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. And that's what she's doing. She's helping them get what they want, which is the byproduct is success in your own self as well. So it's always like looking out for others and, you know, giving a hand up, you know, whenever they need that. And yeah, I'm really excited to try it out because
Yeah, I would love to know how it goes because I think
Me
everyone,
too.
and that's the other thing too, everybody learns the technique and then it's like you can't even watch a webinar. You're like, I could give your presentation because I know
Yep.
what you're going to say except for those like slides in the middle.
Exactly, exactly. And what I'm thinking of doing is while I'm giving it is to let them know kind of what I'm doing along the way.
Oh,
Just so it's like it'll be like a training on what I'm doing to conduct this webinar. Because my training is what I do is I teach people how to create their own paid online program for free. Like it's no out of pocket cost. So I
oh, that's
teach them how to do that from the very first step all the way to the bottom. And so doing that is good for me to show them like the webinar process, right? Like
yeah,
how I'm going through this because this is what's going to help get people into the program. So these are the steps. So I'm thinking of training them on the steps of what I'm doing while I'm teaching them the result that they want. Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
it'd be
think
like,
that's going to be cool.
yeah, it'll be fun. It's my first time doing it, this way. So we'll see how it goes. And I will share with you. I'll share with the whole world, how
Yeah,
it goes because I'm excited to see. I'm just so tired of all the BS.
yeah,
There's so much BS out there, and I really don't believe. I mean, marketing is great. People do a great job with marketing, but I really don't believe that our intelligence is that we are that dumb that
yeah.
we really need to have all these tricks done on us to make us buy what you have. If you have what I need, that's when I want to buy. I don't want to buy because
Exactly.
you've made me emotionally feel like I absolutely need it.
Yes, and I think that's actually one of the things I had to overcome with marketing because it when you start looking on how do I do this and how do I market, there's a lot of that tactic stuff that rises to the
Mm-hmm.
top because those people are good at getting it up there. But I think it's just like with anything, whether it's, saving money or getting fit or eating healthier, it's like there's the gimmicky stuff that's here's the shortcut to the result. And whether or not it works, there's an element of magic involved. Whereas when you're doing it the right way, yes, it's going to take a little longer, but it's going to be sustainable. The result is probably going to be increased and you'll just feel better about it all around. So
Yes, I totally agree. I think I'm hoping that that's going to be a shift in the way marketing is done because it's kind of like the used car salesman. Like what people, I believe what people are doing now with marketing is it's becoming the used car salesman type of tactic. And no, nothing against used car salesmen, but you do have a stigma against you. Um,
yeah.
so the stigma of the used car salesman. And I think that's what's happening is because, everybody starts to jump onto the bandwagon. The next thing you know, everybody's doing the same thing. Well, maybe it's time to shift it out again and just be authentic and be ourselves and to share what we really have and have people actually buy our programs because they want to buy our programs because they know that we are the person who's going to change their life.
That's right. Yeah. And
Duh.
the thing about it, especially because being online, I mean, the market is so huge, is you can be very successful and not be the person that everybody knows online. And for some people, there
Mhm.
is a desire to be known that way, and I'm not taking away from that. But what I mean is, you don't have to go to those lengths to make a very nice living doing something that you really love and that actually helps the people you're working with.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, right? That's really what it's all about is helping the people, helping people that need what you have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I love it. So are your actual clients the people who are elders or are your clients the family members of the elders?
So in my in-person practice, typically it's the family members. Unfortunately, the media and we're working with AARP and some other big organizations to try to let people know, like, hey, come 5 or more years in advance if you know you've got this in your family, so we can do the most amount of planning. Unfortunately, that message is not out there. We're a small firm that to educate people on that is going to be a huge undertaking that
Mm-hmm.
is not really within our capability at the moment, but so the people who come to us often are the family members saying, hey, mom or dad, they can't really speak for themselves anymore. We've got to get them on some benefits. We've got to get them in long-term care. So we're working kind of with the people in between. They've got high school and college age kids, and then they're also trying to care for their parents. They're at the height of their big careers, that sort of thing. So those are the clients in the in-person practice. And that's probably what I would say I do, like 25 to 30 hours a week. And then the rest of the time is spent working with my online business owners.
Okay, because I'm curious. The reason I asked that question is because I'm curious that there might actually be a way for that to be an online program where you can
Mhm.
serve so many more people at a time. Like that might be something just to look at it to see like what is the common theme. What is something that people ask me all the time that I can have all those in one place. Like through an online program, there might be some way for you to incorporate that into that. Even though they're
Yeah.
not business owners. Um, when my mom, we took care of her last 3 years of life, and I didn't even think about the legal aspects of it.
Yeah.
And so that's very important information for, at least if we have that information, we know, where to go to find
It's
it.
true. I'm actually working with my partner on developing something like that for, 'cause the older people are not, number one, with this audience, cannot really make those types of decisions anymore and are not really sort of online, but their family members definitely are. And so many people are doing some amount of caregiving or managing for their parents. So we have a little something in the works to kind of help that, because we do get a lot of the same questions all the time. And unfortunately, the government agencies are very opaque to deal with to begin with. And then on
Oh,
top of it, at least in our state, it's managed by a contractor that's not even local. So it's just a maze of trying to get someone who really knows and can really help you. And, they're not advocating for you. They're kind of on the other side. So we're trying to fill a gap because there is a huge need. So
yeah. So maybe you can go different routes, right? Like maybe private routes where you're, showing up on TV shows and things like that. And you never
yeah,
know. You never know where this interview might take you.
that's right. That's so true.
Yeah. So the more summits you can be on, the more interviews you can be on, the more podcasts you can be on, the more you can get the word out there. And so who would be like, because that's your passion project, and which is amazing. I just love that you're doing that. But who would be a good connection for you? It's like, I'll just tell you like what I imagine, and you tell me if I'm right. Okay. So somebody who works in like an administrator in a care facility.
Definitely. Geriatric care managers, discharge coordinators at hospitals, social workers who work with the elderly population, anyone who works in any kind of dementia advocacy. Those are the people.
Okay, cool. I have somebody I'm going to connect you with in
Oh,
dementia.
thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's why I wanted to ask that question, because I think it's really important for us to know, like when we're asking the question of somebody of how can we support them, it's really best to get as narrowed down as possible, because when you mention those, I'm going through my head thinking, do I know? Do I know? Do I know? Dementia. Yes, I know. Okay, I'm going to
Yeah,
connect her
right.
with someone with dementia. We're not with somebody in the dementia advocacy arena, which is
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Well, awesome. Is there anything else I can do to support you and your amazing work that you're doing?
I think that's it. I appreciate you even asking. Yeah, it was very nice to connect. Danielle was like, oh, you guys get along great, and all of that. So I'm, happy to connect with people, because like I say, it's one thing to do behind a computer screen, but having that sort of sense of community and
Mm-hmm.
just knowing people can't beat it.
Yeah. And you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put like offline, I'll get the links from you, but links of how people can connect with you. I'll put those in the description of the video. This will be on my Facebook page, Living Live, and will
Okay.
also be on my YouTube channel, which I'm growing that out. It's very slow going, but I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was really great talking to you. I also have a podcast called The Fearless Entrepreneurs. And because we did talk about fear and stuff, so I'm going to put this on there as well.
Oh, great. Okay. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And I really enjoyed talking to you, and just keep doing what you're doing. You're so amazing.
Thanks.
I
Thank you
hope
so
you know
much.
that. I hope you know
Keep
that.
trucking. It's always nice to hear it, Linda.
Awesome. Awesome.